Nice one. Port have been magnificent all year. Outstanding again yesterday. Fremantle were very good for a long time, but the last term was owned by the Power. Suddenly they are looking like they are top four locks, and they're dangerous.
Yeah, back over at Adelaide. It's become a real destination stadium over there now. The interstate teams, their supporters are really travelling to get over there. In the first quarter, both teams knew what was on the line in regards to their season, both playing for a top four spot. It was quite a scrappy start, very physical. As I said, both teams wanting to get this win under the belt. Freo started quite slowly, gradually built their way back into the game throughout the second quarter. 5 goals to 2, they led by the 10 points. This guy, Fife, he just stands up week after week. He's one of my favourites. Regardless of how the team plays, he just seems to pop up at the right time and do the right things for the team. Port defended really well, which we know Freo have built a game on defence, but Port were fantastic in that area. Matty White has been one of the pickups of the year. He was much maligned when he was at Richmond, but since he's come over to Port, endless times we've seen him running out on that outer wing, putting Port deep into their forward line, and he's been a massive pickup for them. The three things that I learned at Port: defensively, beat Freo at their own game. As I said, we know Port are a great offensive team, but yesterday defensively they were great. And that leads into my second point. They have a game style that can win a flag. They can do everything around the ground. They've got the players, they've got the depth in their team. And my third thing, Wingard is as good in the air as he is on the ground. He was fantastic yesterday. He had the 17 disposals, kicked 5 and took one of potentially the marks of the year. He started off a little bit sluggish, and here we see his mark there was fantastic. Started off a little bit quiet but worked himself right into the game and took a massive hanger there.
Another star for them who's absolutely having a blinder of a season. Robbie Gray, massive last quarter, 15 touches. How have you seen his progression this year?
I think he's been great. He's been one of those guys that I think Ken Hickley's put a lot of faith into, and you see him out in the field. He doesn't look like your typical current day footballer, but he gets the job done, and he's one of those ones that he can be quiet for a lot of the game, but he'll bob up at those times where he can win the game off his own boot, and they're very rare, those players, and he's definitely one.
Ollie Wines, he just keeps getting better and better each game. Could he be the Selwood of his draft?
Yeah, and you look at him, how strong he is for a young kid who hasn't played too many games, and that's why I think Port are going so well. And a lot of kudos to the recruiting team over there at Port to be able to get kids like Ollie Wines out of Echuca, a great young player, gets a lot of the ball, but that's to do with their depth. You know, they got Boak leading the way, and the depth of the young guys is just phenomenal.
They're both single-figure picks, weren't they? I mean, I think Wingard was 6, and what was Wines?
Wines was 7.
7, yeah.
Selwood was 7.
Selwood was 7.
You can get lucky, I mean, and you can be very good at the recruiting, but it shows you how people go, no, we don't want them. They pick him up at 6 after going to Murray Bridge, spending time with Chad Wingard's parents, saying, "Is this kid right?" And they're worried about him. He's turned into a freak, best and fairest All-Australian second year.
And Fife's one that probably wasn't taken in those sort of high numbers, and then you look at what he can do, and like I said, his ability around the ground. He's one of these players, he may not have a captain beside his name in the record, but he's a bigger leader out there on the field for Freo as any, because beautiful ball use, he's tough, he's courageous, and he really sets the tone for Freo week after week.
Huge value at pick 20, isn't he?
Yeah, massive, and that's what I mean. Their ability of recruiters to actually pick, I think, on the character of a person now is more important than probably how skillful they are as a junior.
Ross Lyon was angry yesterday, Gia.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to cross Ross, especially I've never seen him do this, to come down onto the bench. You look at Crowley here, he looks away. He don't want any part of that. He's left Piercy up to himself there.
Everyone looking away except Daniel Pearce. That was 7. He made a special trip down with 7 minutes to go, just to have that chat and go back.
That's probably one you talk about at the end of the season. Around Mad Monday, a few beers, we have a good laugh, but for now it's yes Ross, no Ross.
He settled a little bit in the presser, but he's not pleased with where the Dockers are at.
We're not one of the best teams in the competition, because if we were, we would have been able to beat them, and we'd be sitting with 1 loss or 2 losses like the best teams, like Hawthorn, Port Adelaide. But we need to improve our football. The players in myself aren't thrilled. Yeah, we're a mediocre team at the minute.
What are they lacking, Gia, right now from what they had late in 13?
I'm not sure. I think in the pre-season they focused on getting 2 extra goals, and maybe that's taken a little bit off their defence. But I've got no doubt a Ross Lyon coach team, they'll be going really well towards the end of the year, and you know, in a final series, they play finals brand of footy, so they'll get
Beware
right back
the
up there.
Dockers.
Yep.
Yeah, beware, because I had them penciled in top 4. I think a few injuries have hurt them and there's a little question on their depth. Jimmy, you've got them next up. Pavs 300th. Yeah. They're coming off a big loss. It's probably one of those ones that you don't want to be facing up against them in.
Yeah, it's nice that everyone's giving them some great motivation for this week leading into it.
They're flying, Jimmy, right now. They're flying.
Yeah, they're going great. They should just take it easy this week. No, but like you said, back in Perth, they ride them pretty hard, the Eagles and the Dockers over there, the local media. But you know, they're probably their best player ever, Pav 300, and copping a tough spray from Ross. Yeah, I think we're going to face a pretty motivated Dockers.
That's on Saturday night.